Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. It's all designed for you, the listener. And today,
Oh, this is exciting.
we are going backstage into the music biz.
Yeah.
Creativity and contracts, and sometimes
A little chaos.
a bit of chaos. And to get us there, we've got artist interviews, we've got expert opinions, historical overviews,
Wow.
even financial analysis.
That's a lot.
So get ready for the inside scoop on how this whole industry actually works.
You know what's always kind of intrigued me?
Yeah.
Is how the music industry has really been shaped by technology over the years. I mean, from like Edison's first photograph
Oh, yeah.
to today's, streaming giants. It's wild how much it's evolved.
It really is a story of evolution, but
Yeah.
does that always mean it's good for music?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is a big question.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We went from those grooves on wax cylinders to streaming millions of songs instantly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's not even just about how we listen to it. It's who holds the power
Absolutely.
in this whole industry?
Power dynamics have totally shifted over time.
They have.
In the early days, record labels were the gatekeepers.
Oh, yeah.
They had all the resources to record and produce and distribute music, so you basically needed them if you wanted to reach any kind of audience.
You had to.
Yeah.
Then the internet happens.
Things start to change.
Right. And even in our sources, navigating the modern music industry explains that labels, they still offer advantages. They've got these established networks and marketing power.
Sure.
But now artists have more ways to connect with their fan base directly.
Directly, yeah, for sure. But it makes you wonder if it's really a level playing field.
Is it?
I mean, even with the internet, there's still this huge difference between a major label with global reach and, an indie label operating on a shoestring budget.
Totally. And that difference in power, it can lead to some sticky situations for artists.
Oh, for sure.
Especially those just starting out.
Yeah.
They might not get the fairest deal.
Right.
It reminds me of that Linkin Park story.
Linkin Park?
From Dorian Group 82.
Oh, yeah.
Their album going Diamond. I mean, incredible success.
Huge.
But even with major success like that, you can attract exploitation.
It's true. The music industry, they can be a really, really tough business.
It can be.
And there are so many stories about artists getting caught in contracts that ultimately benefit the label way more than the artist.
So you're saying even a band like Linkin Park could get taken advantage of?
It happens. I mean, think about it.
Okay.
The Truth Is video, they had this great analogy they called traditional record deals.
Yeah.
Sketchy loans.
Sketchy loan?
Yeah, you get an advance to make music.
Sounds great.
Sounds awesome, right?
Yeah.
But that advance is essentially a debt
that
you have to repay from your future royalties.
Okay, so what happens if those royalties never come through?
That's the risk.
Uh-oh.
What if the album doesn't sell well?
Yeah.
What if streaming revenue is lower than you expected?
Yikes.
You could end up owning the label money even after years of work.
Really?
Yeah. And on top of that, the label often recoups all sorts of expenses, recording costs, marketing, even tour support.
Oh, wow.
Before the artist sees a dime.
That is crazy.
I know. And navigating the modern music industry actually shares this story about an artist who was stuck in a contract for 14 years.
14 years? That's a long time.
It's a long time to be tied to a deal that's not working for you.
So what's the takeaway here? What should artists be thinking about when they're looking at these contracts?
Get a good lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Okay.
Legal representation is absolutely crucial in this industry.
Yeah.
Those contracts are so complex.
They are.
And without expert guidance, it's easy to get trapped.
Yeah.
In a situation that could totally derail your career.
So even if a deal sounds amazing,
Even if it sounds amazing.
get a second opinion
Always.
from a lawyer who knows the industry.
Absolutely. Someone who's been there, done that.
Yeah, that's good advice for anyone, really.
It is. And be wary of those 360 deals that are becoming more common these days.
360 days?
Yeah, that's where the label takes a cut of all of the artist's income.
Oh, wow.
Not just record sales, but merch, touring, everything.
That really limits an artist's financial independence.
Exactly.
Wow.
And sadly, there are even stories of labels charging artists for phantom expenses.
What?
Or outdated fees.
Get out of here.
Like breakage fee.
Breakage fees. What is this, 1972?
I know. It's a leftover from the days of physical records.
Wow.
It's wild.
It really makes you wonder, is the music industry built to support artists or to exploit them?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one that we're going to keep digging into as we follow the money trail.
All right.
And see how royalties actually work.
Let's do it. All right. So we've talked about, the potential pitfalls of record deals, but let's get into the money itself.
Let's talk money.
How do royalties actually work?
Okay, so royalties, it could be a pretty complicated system, I know.
Yeah.
But it's essential for any artist to grasp the basics.
Okay.
Every time a song is played, streamed, downloaded,
Yeah.
there are royalties generated.
Okay.
And these get divided up among different parties.
Okay. I remember Indie Music Academy broke down those different types. You've got mechanical, you've got performance.
Exactly.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot. But it's important to know where your money is coming from.
Yeah.
So for you as an artist, the key is understanding two types.
Okay.
Performance royalties
Okay.
and mechanical royalties.
Gotcha.
Performance royalties come from when your music is played publicly.
Okay.
Radio streaming services live venues, anything like that.
Okay.
Mechanical royalties are generated every time your song is reproduced.
Gotcha.
So physical CDs, vinyl digital downloads, even those temporary copies created when someone's streaming your song.
Okay, so those are like the two main royalty streamers for artists. What about the master recording royalties?
Those usually go to whoever owns the master recording.
Okay.
Which is often the record label.
Gotcha.
That's why owning your masters is such a big deal.
Yeah.
For artists, it means you control those royalties.
Okay, makes sense. So like ASCAP, BMI, SESAC, they collect the performance royalties?
They do.
For songwriter, publishers?
Yep.
But how do artists actually make sure they're getting everything they're owed?
It's all about registration. You got to register your music with the right organizations in your home country, internationally.
Oh, wow.
Services like Song Trust can be really helpful for this.
Okay.
They make sure you're collecting everything you're entitled to.
You put in all that work creating music.
You deserve to get paid.
You deserve to be compensated.
Exactly.
Fairly.
Now, you mentioned streaming earlier.
I did.
And I think it's worth talking about how streaming has really changed the financial game for artists.
It has.
Remember that 50 Cent video we watched?
Oh, yeah.
He talked about how back in the day, artists like Mariah Carey, Jennifer Lopez, they had these massive marketing campaigns worth millions, which could be recouped from CD sales.
Okay.
But with streaming, the revenue model is completely different.
Totally.
Those huge marketing budgets just aren't feasible for most artists in the streaming era.
Okay.
And 50 Cent was making the point that labels are struggling to adapt.
Really?
To reach those massive audiences on a much tighter budget.
Wow.
Which, of course, impacts artists, too.
Interesting, because streaming has made music more accessible than ever for listeners.
For sure.
But it's also created these new challenges for the people making the music.
Absolutely. And that's a big reason why we're seeing this rise of the independent artist.
Yeah.
You know, with the challenges of the traditional label system.
Yeah.
More artists are choosing to go it alone.
Right.
And build their careers on their own terms.
And the internet's a huge factor in that.
Huge.
Navigating the modern music industry talked about.
Yeah.
Artists can connect directly with fans.
Directly, yeah.
Distribute their music.
Right. Build a brand.
Build a brand without a label.
Without needing a label.
But going independent.
It's not a walk in the park.
It's not.
It takes a lot of hustle.
Okay.
And a deep understanding of the business.
Yeah.
To succeed.
It's like being an entrepreneur.
It is.
You have to wear multiple hats.
Not
just musician, but marketer, promoter, social media guru.
You got it. And Hein Cooper was talking about this in one of the videos we watched.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to make a sustainable living from his music.
Yeah.
Without giving away most of his income to third parties.
Okay.
That's the goal for a lot of independent artists.
And there are tons of independent artists out there who are killing it.
Oh, yeah.
Like that darkwave band from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
That Ari's Tape talked about.
Right.
Built a whole career without a label, selling out venues worldwide.
It's inspiring. It really shows what's possible with the right strategy.
Yeah.
And a strong online presence.
Totally. But one key takeaway for those independent artists, Indie Music Academy, really emphasized this.
They did.
Diversify income streams.
Exactly. Don't just rely on streaming revenue.
Okay.
Think about things like merch, brand partnerships.
Okay.
Even building a presence on platforms like YouTube or Twitch where you can monetize your content.
So many avenues.
They even said, if your only strategy is getting billions of streams, you're in for a long and disappointing journey. That was harsh.
Yeah.
But it's true.
It makes sense.
The landscape has changed.
It has.
And artists need to adapt to survive.
So true. They need to think beyond just the music.
Beyond the music.
And build a brand.
Build a brand.
That connects with their audience on multiple levels.
Multiple level. It's like that 1,000 true fans theory.
Yeah.
Finding those dedicated fans who are willing to support your work in a meaningful way.
More than just hitting play.
More than just hitting play.
Okay, so we've talked about how technology has shifted the power dynamics in the industry, but it's also had a huge impact on how music is consumed.
Oh, yeah.
And how it's marketed.
For sure. I mean, think about MTV.
Oh, yeah.
The Wall Street Journal video talked about how MTV revolutionized the industry.
Really?
By giving artists a visual platform.
Okay.
It became less about just the song.
Okay.
And more about the whole artistic package.
The whole package.
With artists like Madonna and Michael Jackson leading the way.
It's funny because we think about MTV as a relic of the past.
Right.
But it really did change how music was presented to the world.
It did. Then came the internet.
Of course.
Which brought about the rise of streaming and the decline of physical media.
The decline.
I mean, platforms like Spotify and Apple Music.
Yeah.
They're the primary way people discover and listen to music now.
Yeah, and now we have TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube Shorts.
Driving music discovery in a whole new way.
Driving it. It's amazing how quickly these platforms have become so influential.
It's crazy.
You see a snippet of a song on TikTok.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
But what's the long-term impact of this short-form consumption?
That is a good question.
Does it allow us to truly appreciate music?
Right.
Or does it just create a fleeting moment of hype?
The Samurai Guterres video actually talked about this.
They did?
They talked about the addictive nature of short-form content.
Oh, yeah.
And how it can potentially distract from deeper artistic engagement.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with these snippets of information and entertainment.
And entertainment.
That it's hard to slow down and absorb something fully.
It really is. It's something to be mindful of as these platforms continue to shape the musical landscape.
For sure.
Speaking of shaping the landscape, there's another force at play we need to address.
Okay.
The increasing influence of mega corporations.
The Volksgeist video.
Oh, yeah. They went deep on that.
They did.
They talked about companies like Hypnosis spending billions of dollars to buy up song catalogs.
Wow.
From artists. I mean, Bob Dylan selling his catalog for $400 million.
That's a lot of money.
It's a staggering amount of money. It's a sign of how valuable music catalogs have become. Yeah, these companies see them as long-term investments.
Interesting.
They're willing to pay top dollar to acquire them.
But what does that mean for the artist?
Right.
Who created the songs? Volksgeist brought up a good point.
They did.
About artists losing control over how their music is used.
Yeah.
What if a song you wrote about a personal experience ends up in a cheesy commercial?
That would be rough. It's a valid concern.
It is.
It raises questions about artistic integrity.
Yeah.
The potential for corporate exploitation.
And then we have Taylor Swift re-recording all her albums after her masters were sold.
Yeah.
She took a stand.
She did.
Regained control of her music.
Yeah.
That sparked a whole conversation about artists' rights in the digital age.
It's a powerful reminder that artists do have options.
They do.
And they don't have to just accept the status quo.
But is this trend of corporations buying up catalogs?
Right.
Good for the industry overall?
That is the question, isn't it?
It's a big question.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
With no easy answers.
Right.
On one hand,
Yeah.
it can provide artists with a significant financial windfall.
True.
On the other hand, it raises concerns about corporate control.
Yeah.
And the potential for artists to lose creative autonomy over their work.
What do you think about this whole trend?
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I think it's a bit of both. I see how it can benefit artists financially.
Okay.
But it also makes me worry about the future of music ownership.
Yeah.
And control.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
It is, as the industry continues to evolve.
It's always evolving.
Always evolving. Now, before we move on to our final insights, I want to shift gears for a second.
Okay.
Talk about a crucial element that drives the industry.
Right.
Music publishing.
Music publishing.
It's something that a lot of people might not fully understand.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
So let's break it down.
Let's break it down.
What is music publishing?
Music publishing is all about the business side of songwriting.
Okay.
Ensuring that songwriters and composers get paid for the use of their work.
So it's different from the master recording rights?
It is different. Every piece of music has 2 copyrights.
Oh, okay.
One for the sound recording.
Oh, okay.
One for the musical composition.
Gotcha.
Publishing deals with the latter.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does it actually work?
Think of it as the engine that drives royalty collection for songwriters.
Okay.
Publishers handle things like registering songs, issuing licenses for their use.
Okay.
And collecting those all-important mechanical royalties we talked about earlier.
So they play a crucial role in making sure songwriters are compensated.
Absolutely.
Surely.
And they also help get songs placed in films, TV shows, commercials, even video games.
Wow.
It's a multifaceted business.
I bet there are different types of publishers, too.
You're right. You have administrators
who
handle the basic tasks for a commission.
Gotcha.
Independent publishers who offer additional creative services.
Okay.
And then the major publishing companies.
Yeah.
That are often part of those big music industry conglomerates.
So it's like a whole ecosystem.
It is.
Within an ecosystem.
An ecosystem within an ecosystem.
Wow. Speaking of complexity,
it's
clear that the music industry is in constant flux.
Always changing.
Always changing, adapting. What are some of the biggest challenges you see musicians facing today?
One of the biggest is this perception that music has become devalued in the digital age.
Interesting.
With streaming services offering access to millions of songs for a relatively small monthly fee, some argue that the value of music has been diminished.
It's interesting because for listeners, it's amazing
it is
to have so much music
right at our fingertips.
At our fingertips. But it also makes you wonder if artists are getting a fair shake.
Right. It's a complex issue.
It is.
Streaming has undoubtedly made music more accessible than ever before.
For sure.
But it's also led to a decline in revenue from traditional album sales.
I remember reading in that Wall Street Journal video.
Oh, yeah.
About the peak of CD sales in 1999.
1999.
Industry was booming.
It was booming.
But then came Napster.
Napster.
The rise of digital piracy.
A turning point.
It was.
The industry had to adapt.
It did.
They eventually embraced digital downloads.
Through iTunes.
Through platforms like iTunes. But even that couldn't fully compensate for the decline in physical sales.
Right. And so that leads us to the streaming era.
It's the streaming era.
But as we've discussed, streaming revenue alone...
It's not always enough.
It's not enough.
To sustain a career. Especially for independent artists.
Right.
It's forcing artists to be more entrepreneurial.
Okay.
And think creatively about how to monetize their work.
They have to become like mini CEOs.
They do.
Of their own music businesses.
It requires a different set of skills.
Totally.
Marketing, branding, social media savvy.
Yeah.
A deep understanding of the business side of the industry.
So for someone just starting out in the music industry, what advice would you give them?
First and foremost, be passionate about your music.
Okay.
Let that passion drive you.
Yeah.
And second, don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Try new things.
Yeah.
The industry is constantly changing.
It is.
So be adaptable and willing to learn.
Resilience is key.
It is. You got to be able to roll with the punches and adapt to whatever the industry throws at you.
So true. And remember,
yeah,
the most important thing is to create music that you believe in.
Absolutely.
Music that comes from the heart.
It will always resonate, regardless of industry trends.
I love that. And one thing we've seen repeated across all of our sources, the importance of building a strong team.
Oh, absolutely. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in your vision and can support you on your journey is essential.
Essential. This could include managers, agents, publicists, lawyers,
right,
fellow musicians, collaborators.
Your team, your tribe.
The artist guides talked about how a good manager acts as a CEO.
A CEO.
For the artist's career.
Right.
Handling the business side of things so the artist can focus on creating.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that the artist-manager relationship should be a partnership.
Oh, yeah.
Based on mutual trust and respect.
Totally. And a music producer.
The producer,
another key team member.
Crucial Full Circle Music, described the producer's role as a guide.
Oh, okay.
Who helps the artist achieve their vision for the music.
Okay.
Shaping the sound, overseeing the recording process.
Like a creative partner.
A creative partner who can push the artist to new heights.
I love that. And of course, live performance.
Live performance.
The Music Lab talked about this.
They did.
It's where the music comes alive. It's where artists connect with their fans.
On a deeper level.
On a deeper level. Involving booking agents, tour managers, a whole lot of logistics.
It's a whole operation.
It is. And in today's streaming-dominated world,
right,
touring can be a major source of income.
It can.
For artists.
Definitely.
We can't forget about social media.
Social media, oh, it's essential now. For artists to connect with fans, promote their music, build their brand.
It's like the Music Lab said.
What did they say?
If you're doing something, just show people on social media.
Show what you're doing.
But Ari's take had a good point.
Yeah.
About using social media strategically.
Strategically.
But authentically.
They said
your audience can smell if you're phony.
They can smell it.
Or off-brand.
Yeah. Or if you're trying to do something that doesn't feel authentic.
So it's about more than just posting random updates.
It's about building a genuine connection.
A genuine connection.
With your audience.
Right.
Creating a community around your music.
I remember that anecdote from T Mentality about Prince critiquing Mariah Carey's record deal.
Oh, yeah.
He basically said that she got screwed.
He did.
Because the label would make way more money for her music.
And she would.
It was a pretty eye-opening perspective on the power dynamics in the industry.
It highlights how important it is for artists to understand the business side of things and advocate for their own interests.
Absolutely. We've covered so much ground today. We have. But it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Just scratched the surface.
Of this vast and complex industry.
There's so much more to explore.
There is.
From music licensing and copyright law.
Oh, yeah.
To the world of blockchain and NFTs in music.
It's crazy to think how much this industry is going to evolve.
It's exciting.
And what innovations are out there.
Yeah. And what really stands out to me is this constant tension between the old and the new.
The old and the new.
You know, the legacy systems being challenged by technology.
Right.
And the rise of independent artists.
It's a constant push and pull
It is.
Between tradition and innovation.
A reminder that the music industry is a dynamic ecosystem always in motion.
Always in motion. So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what excites you most about the future of music?
Oh, that's a good question. What trends or innovations are you particularly interested in? You know, there's so much to be excited about.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more crucial aspect of the industry.
Okay.
Artist development.
Artist development.
It's something that's often overlooked.
Yeah.
But it's so essential for artists who want to build sustainable careers.
I've always wondered about that. What exactly does artist development even entail?
It's way more than just practicing your scales.
Okay.
It's about nurturing talent.
Okay.
Helping artists reach their full potential.
Got it.
Guiding them as they develop their craft, build a strong brand, connect with their target audience.
So it's like a holistic process.
Holistic.
Coaching, mentoring, strategic planning.
Yeah, all of that. So who's usually responsible for this?
Yeah, who is?
Well, traditionally, record labels played a big role.
Oh, yeah.
You know, shaping their artists' image and sound.
Okay.
The Music Money Makeover show talked about how labels would invest time and resources into crafting an artist's public persona.
Really?
Sometimes even controlling their appearance and how they presented themselves to the world.
So they had a lot of control back then.
They did. But it's changed a lot with the rise of independent artists.
How so?
Artist development has become more collaborative.
Okay.
and individualized.
Okay.
Artists are taking ownership of their own development.
That makes sense.
Seeking guidance from managers, producers, industry professionals who align with their vision.
Artists today have way more options.
They do.
And more control over their careers.
They do. It's exciting. And, Adam Ivy, a music industry mentor we watched, he pointed out it's not just about getting support from others.
Right.
It's also about self-belief and self-investment.
Interesting.
He said, you use me as a tool for strategy tactics, perspective coaching, all of that. But what are you doing for yourself?
He's saying you can have the best mentors in the world.
You can.
But if you don't believe in yourself and invest in your own growth, it won't really matter.
It won't. And he emphasized the importance of action, too.
Okay, what did he say?
He said, you can't steer a car that's not moving. We can't get to a destination if we don't take action.
That's a good analogy.
It is. It's about turning those dreams into concrete steps.
Yeah.
And consistently moving forward, even when things get touched.
I liked what he said about avoiding the trap of becoming a gear addict.
Oh, yeah, the gear addict.
It's so easy to get caught up in buying the latest equipment.
It is.
Or software.
Yeah.
But without the dedication to mastering those tools and creating music.
It's just a distraction.
It is a distraction. He called himself a recovering gear addict.
He did. He did.
Emphasized the importance of honing your craft.
Putting in the hours.
Putting in the hours.
Mastering your skills.
Talent alone isn't enough.
It's not. You need discipline, perseverance, a commitment to constant learning and improvement.
So true. So we've talked about, the practical skills, the hustle.
Yeah.
What about connecting with an audience?
Connecting with an audience. That's the other crucial piece of the puzzle.
It is.
And Eric Milson, a TEDx speaker, he offered a really fascinating perspective.
Okay, what was it?
On how the music industry sells values.
Sells values.
He argued that music genres often represent countercultures that cater to specific beliefs and values.
That's interesting. So it's not just about the sound of the music.
No.
But also the values.
The values.
The message it conveys.
Exactly. He used examples like glam rock and grunge music to illustrate how these genres embodied distinct sets of values that resonated with different audiences.
Like glam rock was all about rebellion, self-expression.
Right.
Grunge was more authenticity.
Raw emotion.
Raw emotion. And they attracted different types of fans.
Based on those values.
Based on the values that they represent.
Exactly. And Melson's point is that artists need to be mindful of the values they project through their music and their image.
Yeah.
Because these values play a huge role in attracting and connecting with fans.
So if an artist's values align with their audience's values,
there's a stronger chance of building a genuine connection.
Okay, I get it. He even did an experiment on Instagram.
Who did?
Where he posted about his personal values alongside a relevant image.
Right.
And he found that it got way more engagement.
Way more engagement.
Than his usual music-related posts.
It's interesting.
It is.
It shows that connecting with your audience on a deeper level, beyond just promoting your music, can be incredibly powerful.
It can be.
And he talked about how social media has disrupted the traditional industry model.
Yeah.
By offering artists alternative ways to connect with fans. And build communities.
It sounds like it's not just about being on social media. It's about being strategic and authentic.
Authentic in how you use it.
Melson said, if you don't communicate well what you stand for, then it's impossible for a fan to self-identify with you. And if you don't have fans, you can't sell your stuff to them.
It's true. It's a balancing act.
It is.
Between expressing yourself authentically and engaging with your audience.
In a way that resonates.
In a way that resonates.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the history of recorded music to the rise of streaming, the challenges and opportunities facing artists today.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey behind the scenes of this fascinating industry.
It really has.
And, despite all the complexities and challenges, I think it's important to remember that the music industry is still a place where passion, creativity, and innovation can thrive.
It's a reminder that at its heart, this industry is all about the power of music.
The power of music.
The power to connect people, inspire emotions, and spark change.
Absolutely.
And as long as that power exists, the music industry will continue to evolve and find new ways to thrive.
It will. So if you're an artist out there listening,
don't
be afraid to dream big, work hard, and never stop creating.
And for all you music lovers, keep supporting the artists you love, explore new music, and never underestimate the transformative power of a great song.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the music industry.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel inspired to keep exploring this dynamic and ever-evolving world.